Starting off, the Brrrgh is much different than any playground I've faced so far. Instead of being given the option for my last gag check right away, I need to talk to little oldman to begin. Before doing so, I actually had bought a doodle from Donald's Dreamland with the rarely tired trait. I had trained it to be maxed in jump since I am at a point where survivability may become significantly more difficult. I also maxed all of my gags, so now I'm working with the full bonus from track XP for all of my tracks, and can use trap for my key picks if I'm willing to take some damage. Level 7s may or may not be handy, but for now those are reserved for any do or die situations. I go to Lil Oldman's shop and this begins a small task line to prove my worth to him. I have to fight a few level 8 plus cogs, so I take on a nearby field office. I'm at the point where field offices now provide me 2-star SOS cards, but will be at the most difficult tiers. If I do these in Walrus Way, then I have to deal with only about 3 to 4 cogs per run. Lure does miss in this attempt, and I die turn 1. Very lame, but it was something I couldn't fully control. I run another field office and win this time, getting a Banana Peel, a 3-round Lure SOS. Third field office attempt, and I open up with a TNT. This is because my cake isn't organic yet, so even if I use Lure turn 1, I have to 2-round this Hollywood, as it is level 11. I save a cake by opting for TNT instead, only having to gamble on my Lure actually working. I deal with the Mingler reserves with no problem and gain a Giggle Mesh, a plus 30 tune-up SOS in the process. I get the last few cogs on the street and return to Little Oldman. I have to fish up some fuzzy dice, which goes fairly quick. The next task given to me is to take down 2 4+ story Lawbot buildings. I personally was hoping for Cashbot or Boss Spot, as Lawbot buildings will be a bit annoying to find. In the Brrrgh, I usually have to concede to Polar Place, which holds some of the highest tier buildings in the game, but Walrus Way can provide some easier alternatives. I do find a 4-story Lawbot building when checking further near the entrance, so I run that. On the first floor, I open up with the TNT like I did in the field office. The reason for this is due to the general strategy I went with for most of these building runs. Due to my limited tools for handling level 10 plus cogs, I need to conserve my cakes and storms for higher floors. So in order to save those gags to the best of my ability, I opt for a TNT in 1v1 scenarios where I'm forced to 2-round a cog, so level 7 to 11s depending on their threat level. If I can't TNT, then I try to find a way through with level 5 gags. This kind of resource management does have its downside in the form of taking more damage early on, but if I get a turn to lure a cog safely, then I could call my doodle for healing before I kill the cog. I'll be honest, I have to thank Cellbot field offices in TTR for making me really adapt to resource management like this, as those also encourage players to work off of level 5 or lower gags before the final floor. Without that, I probably would have started these buildings off of level 6s, before realizing I need to play things slower. By the time I get to floor 3 in this run, I begin to use my storm clouds as I don't have too many cogs left to deal with. The rest of the building goes smoothly, although I opened up the last floor with a presentation because I didn't want to risk a frustrating Hypno miss. It takes me a few district swaps and going to Donald's Dreamland for the next building. I could have taken on some 5-story Lawbot buildings instead, but my general squishiness and lower gag capacity makes me stick with 4 stories for now. The whole building goes down without issue, and I complete this part of Lil Oldman's task. After returning to Lil Oldman, I can finally choose between Tune-Up and Drop. I don't need to repeat myself a 3rd time on Tune-Up, so I go with Drop. I begin the actual task line by going to Vidalia and grabbing a frame task in Cellbot HQ and to collect a love letter from Legal Eagles for her own task. Legal Eagles have higher drop rates for the love letter, so I'm quite glad that I didn't have to re-roll her task. I grab one more frame task and decide to focus on both of those for now. I run a factory to get 10 level 6 plus cogs done immediately and get 3 level 7 plus cogs. Now that I have maxed gags, the factory went from being a stressful solo to easier than running most buildings I do for this playground. I then run a 4-story Lawbot building on Polar Place to find a Legal Eagle. Somehow, I got a ton of big wigs and no eagle. I at least complete the level 7 plus cog task for another frame. I grab another task for 8 level 8 plus cogs and run another 4-story Lawbot building. This time it actually has Legal Eagles, and I collect the love letter while getting 7 out of 8 level 8 cogs. I grab the last one off the street, and after restocking my gags, I return to Vidalia and she wants me to deliver the love letter to Snooty Sinjin. Before I talk to him, I go to Chicken Boy to set up a task duplication, as his soccer ball task can be obtained from him. I also grabbed the task to see Sweaty Pete. Snooty wants me to collect 10 wiener dogs, and Sweaty Pete wants me to collect a cog gear from micromanagers. Since 2 of my tasks are completely different cog departments, I opt to find the micromanagers first. It takes me a few tries, but I eventually get the cog gear in a 3-story boss bot building. To go a bit off topic, in one of the fights I did to get the cog gear, I actually ran into the lure knockback bug on the street. This is due to the downsizer and second micromanager being delayed by the dancing street prop. This didn't make the fight actually difficult or anything, but I have a newfound hatred for these things. I return to Sweaty Pete and he wants me to fish up a rubber ducky. I get that after a few casts and now have to take down 5 buildings. I do wish I reconsidered the Two-Face variant of Chicken Boy's task, but it's too late now and I just have to settle with my current situation. Field offices unfortunately don't count towards my current building task, and I can only get building progress and wiener dog progress in the Brrrgh. I decide to focus those first, running some easy cog buildings. This eventually finishes my wiener dog task, which takes me to Creepy Carl, who wants me to defeat some level 8+ cogs. I swap districts and do find a Cellbot building, so I run that with the hope of getting the soccer ball first try. Unfortunately, despite having a good amount of Two-Faces for a 3-story, I do not get it. I find a 5-story Cellbot building and decide that it's time to take one on. Since this is on Sleet Street, I won't be dealing with the highest tier difficulty possible. I open up the first floor with a TNT against a level 9 Mingler and lure the following turn. Next floor is a level 7 Mover and Shaker, which this time I lure first so I can kill it with 2 hoses. A level 8 Gladhander comes out, and I opt to lure and spend 2 turns healing with my Doodle before going for a Cream and the Hose combo. Dodging its attack allowed me to skip having to lure for more heals, so I kill it immediately after. Floor 3 is almost an exact replica of the previous floor, but my reserves are a level 7 Mingler and a level 8 Hollywood. They are fortunately weak, but my lure does miss the first 2 times. I pass that off as Big Magnet being bad, and go for my Hypno, which also misses. I dodge both attacks and go for a 4th group lure. It finally works, so I kill the Mingler immediately with a Storm Cloud and take a turn to heal. I cream the Hollywood and lure it again so I can spend a few more turns healing as I'm dangerously low. Once I get back to 47 left, I kill the Hollywood and move on to floor 4. My low amount of group lures is concerning, but with proper management and good accuracy rolls, I should be able to pull it off. I kill the level 9 Mingler with Storm and do the same for the Mover and Shaker. I go for Cream into Foghorn against the Two-Face. I'm down to my last hose, so I opted to save that in case I need it for a high accuracy finisher against 1 cog. I move on to the final floor, giving me a level 10 Two-Face, a level 9 Mingler, and a level 7 Gladhander. My Hypno fortunately hits, and I immediately cake the Two-Face. I go for the Mingler with the cake as well, but cream the Gladhander hoping it goes for Fountain Pen, an attack that it has, which deals 1 damage. It does use that attack, and I fog to kill it while getting damage on the Hollywood. I'm at a comfortable amount of laugh, so I just finish it off with lure and the cake. This building did give me the soccer ball, and I finish Creepy Carl's task as well. I grab a task for 45 cogs anywhere to get another frame, and avoid Hysterical Harry like the plague. For carrying 4 toon tasks, March Harry is the much easier variant, as Hysterical Harry wants you to fight a bunch of tier 7 cogs, which I don't want to deal with. March Harry wants me to start off by defeating 30 Lawbots on Polar Place, so I have to settle with Lawbot buildings on this street for efficiency. I do find a 4-story, and it goes well, although I do have to use my Banana Peel SOS on the final floor due to bad lure accuracy. This allows me to kill 2 cogs with a wedding cake, but 3 more come out. I go for Presentation, and after some healing, I win with 2 Foghorns. This building finishes up Sweaty Pete's task, and I am brought to 57 laugh. I run another 4-story Lawbot building on Polar Place, and it goes smoothly without any SOS or 7 usage. I get the last few Lawbots on the street itself, and have to see Hysterical Harry, but this time he only wants 2 alibis from Legal Eagles. It just takes 1 building to get these. I then return to March Harry and can now hold 4 toon tasks. With my task slots freed up, I grab some tasks centered around Cellbot HQ again. Those generally are easier than the other tasks, so I take advantage of that to get these frames done quickly. Aside from taking the side entrance this time, so I can use Fog for the first 3 fights instead of 2, it goes incredibly easily. I get 5 more cogs on the courtyard, and all 4 of these tasks are already done. I grab tasks for Lounge Lassard, a foreman, and Johnny Cashmere. I'm mostly trying to get these NPC tasks out of the way first, so I can focus on the frames together, but I take any chance I get to sync them up. Lounge Lassard's task starts with needing to collect a microphone from the cogs, and Johnny's task starts with needing to get some yarn from Lobots. I go for the yarn task first so I can progress to needing 20 level 7 plus cogs. Since all of my tasks can be done anywhere, I run another factory to progress all of them. I actually die from a lure missing twice, so that's really cool and not annoying at all. I run another factory and win this time, obtaining the microphone and finishing the foreman tasks. Lassard wants me to collect his keyboard from Legal Eagles, so I try a 5-story Lobot building. Lure misses 3 times in a row, so I just disconnect out of the building to save some time, as I was going to die or leave anyway. It takes me a while to find a 4-story Lobot building, but I do manage to find one, yet it has no Legal Eagle. I settle with the 3-story instead, and I do find an eagle, but don't get the keyboard. I do finish a separate task, and then grab Chicken Boy's duplicated task. This time he wants a soccer ball from a headhunter, so I decide to save that for later since it'll be the easier task to deal with. I go with the 5-story Lobot building in Donald's Dreamland, and while I had a couple close calls, Wedding Cake and careful damage calculations pull through to help me complete this building, and obtain the keyboard for Lounge Lassard. His last task is getting platform shoes from Robert Barons, so I have to weigh my options on how I want to approach that task. For now, I go back to Johnny Cashmere and the Toon HQ to turn in the remaining tasks I have. Johnny Cashmere does want me to fish up knitting needles, then take down 5 4+ story buildings anywhere. At least this building task is flexible, so I look for a Cashbot building that fits this condition. I don't find any, but I do run into a 4-story Bossbot building in Minnie's Melody Land, so I run that for the chance of finding a headhunter. There are a few in this building, but I don't get the soccer ball. Incredibly unfortunate, but at least I made progress on my building task. I decide to instead focus on Bossbot buildings as I'm finding them more than Cashbot. So I grab a task for 2 4+ story Bossbot buildings and find both of them in MML. I handle them with ease, but still no soccer ball. I run yet another Bossbot building and finally get the soccer ball there. I return to Chicken Boy and now have 58 laugh. I decide to finish Johnny's task, so I run a 4-story Bossbot building in Donald's Dock. After completing it, I can start carrying 50 gags, which will be very nice for actually holding more attacking gags and big magnets. I grab a task for 14 level 5 plus cogs in the factory, and to take down a factory, but I actually detour to Cashbot HQ to handle the Robber Baron task I have. Despite my current laugh, my best shot at finding a Robber Baron consistently is actually the coin mint. Since I have max gags, I can take on at least one fight without too much trouble as long as my lure works. But any more than that, and I will be in trouble due to my low laugh. Luckily, there's some floors that actually allow me to skip every fight except the supervisor. These floors need to start with a specific room so I can clip it to the wall. After some floor shopping, I get floor 7, which has the room I need. I go through the necessary obstacles and make it to the room. I go to the very far right corner and adjust my camera so that I am pushed out of bounds. The game is trying to correct my position by returning me back to the corner if I move too far horizontally, but if I time my backwards walk properly, I will stay out of bounds and skip all of the fights in this room, taking me to the supervisor fight. I honestly didn't know about this mint skip prior to this challenge, but I sure am glad I learned it very recently. For the supervisor fight, I start with a presentation since that has the highest accuracy out of all my lure gags. I go for Geyser because my cake is not organic yet, so I go with what instantly takes down all the 11s. I storm the remaining 12 and win easily. I even get the platform shoes first try. Lounge Lassard brings my laugh up to 61, and I take Gus Gooseburger's task so I can work towards teleport access. While he wants me to take down Cashbot buildings, I decide to run the factory first so I can finish my current tasks and get new ones. My last frame task is to take down 2 factories, so I can save that for later. I start running 4-story Cashbot buildings to progress Gus's task, doing 1 in Donald's Dock and 2 more in Donald's Dreamland. Gus then wants me to visit Grumpy Phil, which leads me to Dr. Mumbleface, who asks me to defeat 8 Cashbots. I do that with a building in a street fight, but then I need to recover a golden tooth from a robber baron. Fortunately, I can do the coin mint skip glitch again for this task. I take a few tries at getting the proper floor this time, and I get floor 8, another one that begins with the room I need. My lure misses at first, but the second lure does connect and I safely beat this set of cogs. I don't get the gold tooth though. Because I don't have my wedding cake or geyser, doing a coin mint skip is out of the question since my cake isn't organic either. I run a 4-story and a 5-story Cashbot building, with the latter providing me a gold tooth. Glad I don't have to do the coin mint skip again. I finish up the task, which is just running back and forth, giving me teleport access to the Brrrgh, and leaving me with the last frame task I have to complete, which is taking down 2 factories. That goes well as all the other factory runs have. Now, for the big thing about the Brrrgh. I could hype this up, I could reference all of the social media posts and the general infamy of what's coming up. But honestly, oldman isn't even that bad in standard play. All you have to deal with are a few tier 8 cogs and a bunch of buildings, which you should be doing for gag training anyway. Toontown players can just be incredibly lazy. That said, this isn't standard play. This is a solo challenge where I don't get the luxury of running boss fights or having teammates to help me. I actually forgot that I was going to manipulate Lil Oldman's task, but I wanted Hollywood's anyway, so I got lucky by getting it anyway. Little did I know that getting Hollywood's was arguably the worst option compared to getting Big Cheeses to start. I do a Polar Place field office with the expectation that I will get a lot of Hollywood's there, but I die after killing the level 12 due to bad lure rolls. I do a field office on Walrus Way instead, which gives me a single Hollywood. I used the giggle mesh I got the start of this playground, since I was severely hurt and eventually won, getting me 1 caviar out of 6. I opt to run another Polar Place field office this time, and die again. These Polar Place FO runs are more out of my own impatience, as normally I shouldn't even bother running these, but Walrus Way field offices don't even guarantee that I get a Hollywood. I run another field office on Walrus Way again, but no Hollywood. I run a third one, 2 Hollywoods, but only 1 caviar. 4th one, no caviar. 5th, no Hollywood. I decide to take a break and think over what my strategy should be for this task. I usually get 0 to 1 caviar per Walrus Way run, and while I could get 2 or more in Polar Place, my odds of success have been incredibly low. After thinking about it and doing some research, I remembered that in the VP fight, defeat and collect tasks will actually accumulate after the first round even if you die on the second round. I decided to take this opportunity to finish collecting my suit parts and try a solo round 1 VP. If I can get past this first round, then I will be able to collect a lot of caviar at once. Plus, if I get a Hollywood as the foreman for any of my factory runs, then it speeds things up a little. None of my factory runs gave me a Hollywood, but I do run a field office on Walrus Way for merits and get an extra chance. No Hollywood, and I get 19 merits out of 20. I run 1 more field office, but this time on Polar Place. This time with success. It should be noted that a Polar Place field office has the same difficulty level as the first round of a VP, but only with the level pool of 67. In a solo VP, you'd be fighting basically double that level pool as you're handling both sides worth of cogs. This is at least a good way to practice some of the VP solo strategy. I get my merits in 1 caviar. Now that I have my merits in a wedding cake, I decide to try the round 1 VP solo. My goal here is to just get past that first round. I don't care about winning the whole VP yet. First turn begins with a level 2 and a level 12, so I open up with Hypno. It connects and a level 7 and 12 come out. I Hypno again, it connects. I just go straight for the wedding to clear 2 cogs and get damage on both of the 12s. A level 2 and 3 come out, so I use Trunk to clear the full set of cogs. 2, 3, 4, and 4 are next, and I lure so I can try to heal up. Lure misses, but I manage to survive. Lure connects the following turn, and I take some time to regain some laugh with a doodle jump and giggle bash. I opt to hose one of the level 4 glide handers so I can focus on some 1v1s rather than 1v4s constantly. These lower level cogs have low damage output and low accuracy, so I can afford to take some of their hits. I go straight for killing the level 5 that comes out, and lure once another level 5 arrives. Since I have a free turn, I heal a little bit before killing the new cog. Hose cleans up just fine, and I single target the level 6 telemarketer to minimize incoming damage. I kill the telemarketer over reluring the current cogs, so I can save all my magnets. I lure after the Gladhander arrives, and kill it after an extra turn of healing. I go for Storm on the level 7 that follows up. Lure misses when a level 9 Mingler is out, so I'm not in the best situation now. Fortunately, it went for a weaker attack, and I opt for Hypno, which works. I take a moment to heal again, and then whole cream pie the Mingler. I want to save my cakes for level 10 plus cogs. I fog to clear out the whole set, then a bunch of level 9s come out into level 1. My big magnet misses, but I follow up with a banana peel so I can get the guaranteed lure. But this isn't looking good for me. I heal up and kill the Two-Face as that could deal the most damage out of all of these cogs. Big Magnet connects again after the level 10 Hollywood arrives, so I can get more time to heal. If I can at least break even on these heals, I should be in the clear for 1v1s. Lure connects once more with a level 12 in play, then I cake after getting up to 52 left. I'm dropped down to 8 lap and this is a make or break moment. If Lure misses, it's definitely over. Unfortunately, it does, resulting in my demise when I was most definitely right at the end. Considering how that went, I doubt I would be able to get that close again currently. I'll have to try a different approach. I run some more field offices and finally get the rest of the caviar. I definitely could have just had an easier time by running Walrus Way field offices, but my impatience got the better of me. Lil Oldman now requests I collect a simple spoon from Bigwigs, something that should be a lot more manageable due to the abundance of lava buildings around the Brrrgh. Or so I thought. It takes me quite a while to even find a lava building, and the only one I could find at the Brrrgh is a high tier 5-story that would be incredibly tough for me to solo. So I go for a 3-story in Donna's Dreamland instead. No Bigwig though. Same deal in Minnie's Melodyland with a 4-story. No Bigwig. I find one more in MML and it has a Bigwig at the start. This building ends up giving me the simple spoon, thankfully, so I return to Little Old Man for my next task. I have to fish up a talking toad, then visit Sticky George for ice cream. He then asks me to collect 10 ice cream cones from Big Cheeses. Fortunately, this task actually has a 100% drop rate, so any Big Cheese I find will drop it for me. So I decide to try a front 3, as the restocks I get from the golfing minigame from each floor may allow me to keep using cakes for nearly every fight. I unfortunately fail on the second fight. The fact that my cake isn't organic yet is really hurting now, as rows of 11s is very difficult for me to deal with when I don't have 7s. I decide to run boss spot buildings instead, which proves to be the right play as I get the ice cream cones in just a few runs. Returning the Little Old Men results in me needing to get makeup powder from a Mr. Hollywood. I'm just glad it's only one thing to collect and not 6. I run a Polar Place field office and get it after embarrassingly forgetting about the lure knockback bug and having the geyser to make up for that mistake. Lil Oldman then provides the last major roadblock task I need to complete, but it actually is the easiest compared to everything else I had to do, excluding the fishing task. I have to complete 24 plus story cog buildings. I decided to give myself a couple days to just cool off from dealing with all of the tier 8 nonsense, and then burn through all these buildings in one sitting. None of them were actually interesting. I eventually started half paying attention to some of the runs since I didn't have much issue and could autopilot later on. So to save some time, I won't be going over each one individually. If you really want to see me going through all these buildings in one go, you can at least check the raw footage yourself. One fun thing is that after I finished the building task, I had taken down a total of 168 floors for the district I was in. I had some floors taken down previously from other tasks in the past, but to see the number get so high is honestly quite satisfying. I returned to Little Oldman, and before getting my last track, I need to get a girlfriend. For the talking toad from fishing. I get it on the first cast, and I finally obtain the drop gag track. While the Brrrgh had a lot going on, I didn't run into too much trouble aside from willingly trying the harder stuff rather than taking the slower yet safer options. Taking advantage of certain things like the coin mint skip and level 7s throughout the taskline was fun at least, as I was given more options to tackle certain situations. Kinda crazy to think that there's only one more playground for major taskline progress, but that just means I'm closer to the finish line for this challenge. Hopefully Donna's Dreamland is a lot nicer to me than Little Oldman.